Gildan Media presents Your Coach in a Box. Affordable, mind-enriching programs. Gildan Media presents an unabridged recording of The Self-Love Experiment. 15 Principles for Becoming More Kind, Compassionate, and Accepting of Yourself. Written and read by Shannon Kaiser.
This audio program is dedicated to you, dear listener. Yes, you. For showing up for yourself, for listening to your heart, and trusting the guidance within. Together, we can celebrate life and the journey back to our true selves. Your dedication to living a life with joy and love is a beautiful gift to yourself and the world. Also for you, Tucker. I love you so much. Thank you. The Self-Love Experiment Resources. The Self-Love Experiment is my own personal journey into finding self-love. Throughout this book, I share my story to help you learn by example, but there are many tools I use in my own life and in workshops and coaching sessions with my clients to help them access self-love. I'm committed to doing all I can to support you on your own self-love journey, which is why I've created extra resources to help you feel more joy and self-love. This audiobook is one tool among many to help you feel and find self-love within yourself and life. These powerful tools are designed to help you feel supported and loved while you listen along, and you can create your own self-love experiment. Tool number 1 is the free Me Matters audio meditation. I created a powerful audio meditation that you can download for free to help you align with your best self daily. This meditation will help you feel more balance and love. You can download this free self-love audio meditation at playwiththeworld.com/the self-love experiment/me matters. Another tool is the community in my Facebook group. I've created a tight-knit collaborative community on my Facebook author page at Shannon Kaiser Writes, WRITES. This is a community where I post tools, resources, and daily inspiration. This is a safe place for readers to connect. They share their reflections and questions, and the brilliant aha moments. The next tool is the self-love power mantras. Now, throughout the audio program, you're going to hear me say key phrases and positive mantras. You can repeat these and write them down and use them to help you move forward and take the work deeper. The next tool is to share the love using the hashtag the self-love experiment. If you're on social media and you hear something that resonates, feel free to post it or share it and just use the hashtag the self-love experiment. Or you could also use the hashtag me matters. And the Joy Journal Power Questions. Now, throughout the audiobook, you're going to hear me say power questions. I'll be sharing different questions throughout the book, so it's nice to have a pen and paper close by. If you're driving, definitely want to pause it and pull over. Don't drive and write. That's not good. But, make sure you have fun with it. The Joy Journal prompts are a powerful way to go deeper. The last tool is the self-love soundtrack. I've created a special playlist with songs that are empowering and uplifting. These songs helped me find self-love, and also these are the songs I use in my self-love workshops. You can go to my website, playwiththeworld.com/the self-love experiment to access all of these goodies. Now, let's begin. To start off the program, I'll read a quote by E. Cummings. To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best night and day to make you everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight, and never stop fighting. Why this book? Why now? I have what I refer to as a guru. but he's also my life coach, an advisor, and a healer. The term doesn't really matter, as he has been all these things and more for me, and I'm eternally grateful to him for having helped me sort through some very difficult life situations. For the sake of protecting his privacy, we shall call him Dr. P. The last time I met with him, he told me, "You will find lasting love when you love yourself. Your only homework is to love yourself." I felt like a helpless child watching as an adult dangled candy in front of me. The sweet thing I wanted so badly in my life was right there, in front of me, yet it was completely out of my reach. His words echoed in my mind. All you have to do is love yourself, and you will have everything you want. I thought to myself, I am trying. I've been trying, but when will it get easier? You see, at the time I met with my guru, I was about to embark on an inward journey. I had already been focusing on knowing that me matters, but it was fleeting. Some days I felt great. I enjoyed my own company and I liked who I was. But most days I felt unworthy, ugly, and off track in my own life. Welcome to the self-love experiment. What is it, you might ask? The self-love experiment is a challenge I gave myself to become my own best friend. It was born out of a desperate need to feel more connected to my life and myself. I wanted to know what it was like to live at peace with myself in my body and finally end the war I had been carrying on inside myself for more than 3 decades. Was it possible that this battle might finally subside? I wanted to find out. So I set out on a giant adventure. The self-love experiment is a love story, not the kind where Prince Charming comes to rescue you from distress, but the kind of love story where you become your own hero. I rose up and learned how to save myself from the demons that live in my head. Before my self-love experiment, self-criticism formed the backbone of my relationship with myself. I was always attacking myself in my mind, overanalyzing everything I did. Nothing I ever did was good enough for me. I wanted to know what it would feel like to go an entire day without criticizing myself or feeling as though I didn't measure up. Heck, I thought it would be nice to go even an hour without this inner critic beating me down. So I set out to work on myself, for myself, and by myself. For more than 3 decades, I didn't just dislike myself, I actively went out of my way to sabotage myself. Although I didn't know it at the time, I was indeed treating myself like dirt. All through my 20s, I picked inappropriate men who were not right for me in a myriad of ways. Drug addicts, unavailable men, or men who were super clingy and liked the idea of me rather than who I really was. All my relationships were superficial. I overspent, I overate, I overworked, all in an effort to avoid the sinking sensation that perhaps there might be a gentler, kinder, and more compassionate way to live. Was it possible to love myself? When I looked around at my circle of friends and family and society, it became obvious that most people don't really love themselves. It's not that we don't want to, we just don't know how. And most of us aren't talking about it. We aren't walking around saying we don't love ourselves. Rather, it's in our behavior, our way of existing. It's in our constant quest to be happier, skinnier, smarter, and richer, outward expressions of achievement that we reach for based on some notion that we just aren't good enough as we are. We try and we try to be enough. It is fleeting. The sensation of getting there, the chase, is what we are conditioned to accept. In doing research, I discovered 91% of women hate their bodies. 89% of women are always on a diet or trying to lose weight. Twice as many American women than men are on antidepressants. And 95% of people want to change something about themselves. I also discovered that people today are less happy than in the 1970s, and women had fewer opportunities and less freedom then. Studies estimate 10 million women and girls suffer from eating disorders as a way to control their out-of-control lives. Eating disorders have the highest mortality rate of any mental illness. But it's not just women who are seemingly unable to love themselves. It's men too. And who is the culprit? It's that mean part of us that says we aren't worthy or lovable. The inner critic that creates a playground for our lack of self-love. It's the judgmental, critical, and belittling inner dialogue that virtually every single person hears running through their mind every day. It became clear that in order for me to find self-love, I had to look at what was blocking me, which was my own inner critic and the beliefs about myself and how others perceived me. It is that part of me that tried to sabotage my efforts at being happy. It is the inner voice that points out all the ways we don't measure up or might be falling behind. How fat and old and young, undereducated or flawed we are. It's that part of us that says we should be doing more. We should have it all figured out. The voice that says we are off track and therefore doomed. For most of us, this voice is very much in the driver's seat, making it highly unlikely that we will ever reach the destination of self-love. We worry we are not good enough, or we are being too much. We judge ourselves for just existing. We focus on what is not going well and how far we still have to go instead of celebrating the journey and truly appreciating where we are as we are. Self-love is not something that comes naturally to adults or something we actually think about trying to achieve. Many of us, it seems, search for happiness and fulfillment, and we think this will give us the feeling of peace we have so long desired. But we quickly learn that happiness and even being fulfilled are constantly moving targets. I wanted to know what it felt like to fall in love with myself. Falling was an important part of my process, because falling in love is an essential first part of loving someone for a long, long time and loving them unconditionally. When we fall in love in romantic relationships, everything is heightened. We are diligent in our devotion to our beloved. We are excited about the possibilities of what might be, and we allow ourselves to be present to what is. In our fascination with the person, we don't see any of their flaws. I wanted to feel all of this about myself, but I knew that, just like real romance, the falling is fleeting, and at some point we must roll up our sleeves and get down to the hard work of making love last. This full circle of self-love, falling in love with yourself, and then discovering how to make that love last is essential. And it's a process that is so very rewarding because suddenly we find that we have discovered a gentler, kinder way to live in this world. One where we are no longer at war with ourselves, but are simply celebrating ourselves in a loving light. Imagine what it would feel like to live your life at ease, never feeling the pressure to change or fix yourself. No more pressure to be different, so you fit in and you feel accepted because you know you are enough. I believe this way of living is entirely possible, which is what this audio program is about. Thus began my self-love experiment. I first started by asking myself, how do people love themselves? What tools and tips can I try? I tried meditation. I tried repeating self-acceptance mantras. I looked in the mirror and tried to compliment myself several times each day. I read tons of self-help books and experimented with even more diets. I took all kinds of steps, but all of my efforts were strained. Something was still off. I still felt unlovable, like an outsider looking in on my own life, not fully feeling as though I belonged anywhere. The big question echoed in my mind, how do I love myself? If only I knew how. I could then take the steps necessary and make it happen. But asking how when we don't know how just keeps us stuck. So I stopped asking how do you love yourself, and I started to experiment. The first step, I began to ask a better question. Perhaps the better question to start with is why? Why don't I love myself? The answer was unclear at first. I like parts of me, but when it comes to actually committing to loving myself, I felt a little unsure. I just knew that I felt, for some reason, unworthy. Where it started, this insecure way of being was still unclear, and perhaps it didn't really matter. All I knew was I wanted to feel something about myself that just didn't come naturally to me. In order to fall in love with myself, I needed a fresh start, a clean slate. No more regrets about the past. I thought about the moments when I did appreciate myself and I felt excited about life. But then I thought about how, following these brief moments of self-appreciation, I would find myself looking in the mirror and hearing my inner voice interrupt my good vibes with more self-doubt, more judgment, as I compared myself to others and concluded that I just didn't measure up. It seemed every time I managed to see myself in a positive light, my harsh inner critic interrupted the reverie to assert that, nope, actually, you just aren't good enough. But why? Why exactly didn't I love me? I thought, well, let's start there. Before my experiment, I felt unlovable. I didn't love me. But why? Because I was fat and overweight? How can an overweight person be loved? Because I felt ugly? I never felt like I fit in. I've always felt like I'm on the outside looking in, one of the uncool kids trying to prove myself worthy. Why don't I love myself? Because I don't always feel smart. I don't always know the right thing to say. I often forget things and I'm clumsy with details. Because I feel like maybe my life is off track. Maybe somehow I took a wrong turn and I'm still behind. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I make mistakes and everything is always my fault because, well, I feel like I don't matter. Like I have nothing of real value to offer others. Because I'm alone, I'm a single woman in her mid-30s, surely something is wrong with me. There it was, scratched out on my notepad, all of the reasons I felt ashamed to be alive. The reasons staring me in the face, proof that I was unworthy. As I looked at my list, I saw a consistency with its focus on feeling a certain way. Not good enough. Not lovable. These clues into my deepest rooted insecurity were like breadcrumbs leading me through a thicket of limiting beliefs about myself. I dug a little deeper. My entire life I felt ashamed to be me. I felt unworthy of being alive in the world. This way of living no longer served me. This way of being had to die. It was time for me to shed the cloak of fear and rise up to see my beautiful essence and know that I am worthy of love, acceptance, recognition, and joy. All I had to do was just decide. Because feeling as though we don't have a choice is indeed a choice. We all deserve to love ourselves. By recognizing this, I felt a little freer, and the choice to be kinder to me was underway. Before my self-love experiment, my biggest fear, that I wouldn't be accepted for who I was because I didn't accept myself as I was. And although I was unaware of it at the time, I was still needing the approval of others. Ironically, I wanted to be seen for who I was, but I was at the same time terrified of being seen and unliked. I'd think, what if people don't like me? What if others laugh at me for being who I am? I realized the only way to see if self-love was possible was to start taking action and exploring the possibilities of what might be. It was important to allow myself to be more me. How? What does this mean? Simply put, we will try. We will be willing. We will open ourselves up a little more to the possibilities of self-love. The self-love experiment involves agreeing in your own heart and your actions to the following new ways of being in this world. I made a declaration to myself that I will simply show up. I will speak kindly to myself, no more criticism. I will stop judging myself, no more comparing. I will stop feeling guilty for just doing things that I really want to do. I will stop blaming myself and feeling as though it's always my fault. I will start to care for myself in ways that cherish and appreciate my being. I will show up for myself. I will trust myself and will no longer avoid my feelings. I will express myself and say what I need to say. I will let go of the habits, fears, and beliefs blocking me from feeling content with myself. Boiled down and at its essence, the self-love experiment begins when you commit to learning how to exist in this world alongside that inner critic that has waged war on you for possibly even decades of your life. It means learning to love the unlovable parts of yourself. When I committed to doing my own self-love experiment, I told myself that I would allow myself to be who I am instead of who I think I am supposed to be or who the world says I should be. How do you love yourself? What we are really asking is, how can you love something you think is unlovable? You try. We just have to simply show up, roll up our sleeves, and we try. In this way, one day at a time, the self-love experiment will unfold, and it will be the most beautiful journey you will ever embark on. Welcome to the adventure of becoming your own best friend. Tony Robbins said it's hard to love yourself when you're not being yourself. Introduction. I am not a technical or scientific person. I love research and researchers and all that they do, but I'm a feeling person. I learn from my life experiences, my mistakes, and my feelings. They lead me forward and help me figure things out. This audio program is not a technical or scientific approach to reaching self-love. Rather, it describes my own personal journey to discover that I matter and that self-love is indeed possible. In my sharing, I hope you can learn through example. I will share my story, and in my sharing, you can apply the aspects that resonate with you for your own life. I might be talking about my insecurities and how I overcame them, and my hang-ups might not be yours. But if you apply your hang-ups to the experiment, you will see results for yourself too. The goal is to become our own best friends, even if we all have a different point of entry. You may not hate your body as I did, but you might hate something else that you think is holding you back. Just be open to the journey, and you, too, will see a shift in your own life. With that said, as I wrote the first few drafts of this book, I kept wanting to put the self-love into a process. It made sense to me to have steps. After all, if we take the steps, we should be able to see the results, right? Technically, this is correct. But draft after draft, the book kept feeling like it wanted to be something else. It felt incomplete. It wanted to be more organic, less formal, and not so technical. About the time I got the original idea to write the book, I was reading Gretchen Rubin's Better Than Before, an instant New York Times bestseller. In her book, it's all about transforming habits, and her approach is very linear. She indeed has mastered the step-by-step process. It is approachable, simple, and applicable. I started to look at other authors to see if there was a secret to their success and a one-size-fits-all approach to self-improvement and laying out a specific book. The more I compared my approach to that of other authors, the more overwhelmed and anxious I became. It never occurred to me that trying to change my outside world was a desperate attempt to feel better on the inside. I kept trying to put my book into a formula, a specific structure, one I thought worked because it seemed to work for other authors. I thought if it worked for them, the formatting, the approach, even the structure, then it should work for me. I tried to shove my understanding of self-love into a cookie-cutter version of what was already established. Little did I know at the time, but that was how my entire life was functioning. I was always trying to shove myself into situations that didn't really align or fit. I do what others wanted, not really giving myself a chance to speak up or do what I wanted. I wanted to fit in, but I was always a little off. I was trying to fit into the world, but as long as I kept trying to fit, I would always come up short. Because the real magic of the self-love experiment is that I learned I don't have to fit into the world. I can be me and let the world fit to me. There is no need to change ourselves to be something else because we, as we are enough. Most of my life was focused on trying to change myself on the outside. I was always trying to fit my body to a certain size, trying to say the right thing and hide my real opinion. I was afraid to rock any boat. I was always trying to manipulate, to control or change situations, circumstances, and myself. I walked around an anxious ball of frustration. I was in a perpetual state of fear. I always felt as if I had to gasp for air. I was alive, but barely living. My anxiety got so bad at times that I would forget to breathe and I would pass out. This is all because I was working so hard to change myself, to change my life, but I didn't have self-love. I didn't even know what self-love was. My shift came after writing multiple drafts of this book. Through my own self-love experiment, I stopped trying to push and make myself be something I am not. I gave myself permission to be me. The same thing happened through the process of writing the book. Instead of trying to make it something it wasn't supposed to be, I decided to let go of the rules and the formulas of reaching self-love. I stopped comparing myself to other authors and I just let the book and me be what it wanted to be. Free to express itself. Free to just be me. Once I let go of trying to make this process something it wasn't, I was able to invite the real me to the true adventure. The real me does not have a clear step-by-step process of reaching self-love, but she has stories, adventures, ideas, thoughts, and a deep understanding that spawns from personal experience, all of which I have a deep desire to share. So I put them into this audio program to document my own journey into finding self-love. What you will find are stories and ideas, and as I share my own perspective, I invite you to learn by example. My other programs and books have been more prescriptive. I provided a more checklist, questions to help you go deeper into your own life. This audio program is much different. Why? Because self-love is a very personal experience. This is my own personal journey into finding my authentic self. And not only finding her, but also loving her unconditionally and realizing there is nothing to change or fix. You may be wondering why this is important. Because you too are on your own personal journey. By picking up this program and listening to it, you've already declared you are ready to love yourself more. You are enough. I am enough. We are enough. There is a power in sharing, and when we share our true, real, raw selves with each other, we can celebrate all that we are. This audiobook is a journey, just like life and just like discovering self-love. If you are looking for the answers and you want your magic bullet, if you want some expert to tell you exactly how to find self-love, I'll be honest. This program and my teachings are not for you. What I offer is my truth, a reflective process that is full of love, compassion, and wonder. I tend to learn best through example, and personally, I like stories, as they can touch us in ways that move us into action. So here in this program, you will hear hundreds of stories and examples and insights into what self-love is and how to reach it. You can take what works for you and leave the rest. But please, my dear friend, have fun in the experiment.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?